Hello friends, and welcome back to another video. This is going to be kind of a bonus video because I don't typically post journal content. This is a booktube channel, so I just thought I wanted to do a little journal flip through, but just kind of make it a quick little extra video. So this is a journal from Beatific Journals. It's an Etsy shop. I've been getting these hardcover journals for the past couple of years now. The very first spread is always the best books of the year before. I like to kind of give an overview of just what I gave a 5-star rating to. There's about 17 here, if I counted right. 5-star reads for 2023, so that's pretty awesome. Then I also like to do a little stats page for YouTube. I started a couple of years ago. It's definitely slow growth, kind of a labor of love situation. I certainly haven't popped off by any means, but it is kind of fun to track and just see, you know, how many subscribers you have, your watch hours, your best performing video, that kind of thing. Then, of course, you have to have the book tracking page. I read a total of 85 in 2024. I'll link my video in the cards, my reading wrap up for the year. Then I had to do a dedication just to The Girl from the Other Side manga. And I have watched the anime as well. It's just so wholesome. It's like a dark fairy tale, dark cottagecore sort of vibe. Then we have a reading around the world page. Every time I read, 8, 9, 10, 11 or so books from other countries, then I like to do a video actually on YouTube. I have a whole playlist I can try to link, and then spreads as well. So this was the third kind of chunk. So this is when I was up to about 30 books, I suppose. And we had some good ones. It's a little bit of a messy spread. I do kind of clean it up with the next one we'll see here in a few minutes. This one I cut all the countries out by hand. And in the one that follows this, I did get smart and use a Cricut. Then a January wrap up. I think I'm going to actually nix the monthly wrap ups for 2025 and just do sort of like my highlights. And then I can add extra things in, like if I loved a movie or a TV show or something like that. So I'm expanding this category a little bit for 2025. Then I always do an expense tracker. And if you are not super into finances, but you're trying to find a way to make it fun and interesting for you, this is the way that I have found to do that. Then February books, I switched it up a tiny bit, as you can see. Did not actually print the covers of the books. Normally that's kind of just my default. And I just kind of cut out rectangles and put the titles on there, so it's a little bit of a different vibe this month. And then February's expense tracker, I kind of went with like a matcha latte sort of vibe because I had a sticker for one. Again, it's just a fun thing to do every month to kind of see the breakdown. Then the first trip of the year. Spring break 2024, we went to Medicine Park, which is a little cobblestone resort town down in southwest Oklahoma. The Polaroid does not make our little Airbnb look that great. It doesn't look super cute in the photo, but it's just because it's a bad photo. It was a very fun trip. Boyfriend spent the days kayaking. I think we were there for like 2 or 3 nights. And then we would like go into town. I read most of the time, of course. But we would go into town because we were right there. Just like there's like a little footbridge and you cross right into the little downtown area to, grab a bite to eat. It was very chill. We hiked a little bit in the wilderness area and saw the area is kind of famous for the wild buffalo. They kind of roam there freely in a protected area. March, I was really lazy with March. This is not a good page. But in terms of books, the highlight was probably Paradise Rot by Jenny Haval, which is like a Norwegian body horror novel. March expense tracker, I went with the kind of Southwest theme, piggybacking off of the travel spread from earlier. Then the Atlas Paradox little dedication page for the second book in that series. I love this trilogy. So I basically I think I just took photos of the art that's in the books and then kind of extended the little squiggly lines out so that, it kind of looked like they were a part of the paper. Then my April wrap up highlight was, probably the Atlas Paradox and maybe Pocahontas. This book did like a deep dive into her whole story, and it was really fascinating because it's definitely one of those situations where Disney has lied to us. Then we have May books. It wasn't like the greatest reading month. Probably The Road, even though it's really dark and bleak and is so much the opposite of like a summer read. It's post-apocalyptic, there's cannibals. It's really intense, but I don't tear up at books. Like, it takes a lot for a book to make me cry, and I did tear up at the end of that one. Then our trip to New Mexico. This is probably one of the funnest spreads. Way up north there is a sort of vacant, what do you call it? Like a dead volcano. It's not active. And you can literally drive up the side of it. There's a paved road that goes all the way up, winds all the way up to the top, which was a little bit scary. The hotel we stayed at, oh my goodness, was probably the coolest hotel I've ever stayed at, the El Monte Sagrado in Taos. It was gorgeous. It was a 4-star hotel. Everything about it, the grounds, the interior, all the little rooms, they had like a library, the fancy restaurant, the pool, literally all of it was so cool. It was like perfect weather. We didn't even like leave the hotel very much. Like, I did a little bit of like book shopping and kind of wandered around the downtown area, but honestly, like, the food and just the atmosphere and everything about it was so relaxing. Even like their gym was so nice, and it had like floor to ceiling windows and you could look at the property. Like, we basically just didn't want to leave the hotel. So I did go to Great Used Books, which was run by this older woman and her little cat. Well, her cat wasn't running it, but you know, he was there. And so that was a great one. And then for brunch the next day, we did Bent Street Grill, and literally right across, like accidentally, it was like very much serendipitous, right across from Bent Street Grill is Opposite Books. I think that's what it's called. I think this one was new, not used, but if you're like me and you always have to go to a bookstore when you're in a new place, those two were really great. The one kind of like big historical thing that I really wanted to do while we were there is go to the Taos Pueblo. It's been inhabited for like over 1,000 years or something like that, something crazy. And so this is pretty much what it looked like when it was inhabited by the native people at the time. The church, I think, was like, had burnt down and was rebuilt at one point in time, but a lot of the Pueblo structures you see, I mean, they look just like this, even, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So absolutely fascinating. It's really cool to be able to go somewhere so old. So New Mexico, I had gone with my boyfriend. Pensacola, Florida was a family trip. This was so much fun. We rented an RV. We stayed at the Pensacola Beach RV Resort, and eventually we did get there. So I kind of tried to do like a little sandy vibe on the pages here. So I basically just took a brown marker and kind of stippled, and then took some tannish colored ink to give that sort of vibe. And then obviously the seashell stickers help with the atmosphere. Salt Slow was my beach read, which was pretty much all we ended up doing on the beach because there was a double red flag warning because of the incoming hurricane. Did we really get to swim? No. But did I read on the beach and still enjoy myself? Yes. Then in June, I think it was June, maybe like late June, early July, Readsy reached out to me. They do a writing course. It's like 100 days and you try to hit 100,000 words. Basically, you draft your first draft of a novel. I think that first month I ended up doing about 30,000 words. That was pretty cool. I think I had just started my draft, so I may have already had like, I don't know, maybe I had like a good 5,000 or 10,000 words already written. I can't remember. For July books, I think the highlight was probably between Venomous Lumpsucker and 6 Stories. Those two were very unique. Jumping right into August, definitely these two in the top left corner. Holy moly. Natural Beauty is one of those cool, like, lit fic, but with, like, body horror elements about the skincare industry. Absolutely loved it. And then There Is No Antimemetics Division is just, like, a mind-bending book I cannot even describe. It's science fiction, but even if you don't like sci-fi, I mean, it was just insane. It's one of the craziest books I've ever read. My September wrap-up was another one where I kind of chose to forego printing book covers and just kind of draw them in. Then I was able to go to a writing retreat, a writing workshop, but this one was like in person, not just a course online, down in Quartz Mountain. It's this beautiful lodge that they put, it overlooks a lake, just a really good place to just kind of go to clear your mind, because it's literally one of the quietest places I've ever been, because it's so far away from like even the nearest little town is like 30 minutes away. And then Broken Bow, this was so much fun. I think this was fall break. Yeah, it's so cool. If you've never been down to that area of Oklahoma, it's absolutely gorgeous. The first thing that we did while we were there, this trail, it was pretty short, and it was called Cedar Bluff, the Cedar Bluff Trail. There was this outcropping of rock and this insane vista with the trees and the river and the sun coming down and people kayaking and the sun sparkling on the water. And then all of the kind of Airbnbs that you can rent while you're there are so nice inside. It's very much kind of like a glamping situation. It kind of felt like being inside a Bass Pro. Like everything was like fishing and outdoor themed, but still very like kind of chic and fancy, if that makes any sense. So we kayaked a little bit. We had access to the river right there. We went into town the next day and we mini golfed and we went to the safari drive-through. So yeah, we had a lot of fun time while we were there. Very, very relaxing. Then for my October wrap up, I kind of desaturated all of the covers and put them in to kind of give everything this really dark feel to it. Highlights were Woodworm and Slewfoot, if I had to just pick two. And then we have another Reading Around the World. This is the fourth part, so I'm almost up to about 40 books for this challenge so far. This time I did use my Cricut to cut out all the little countries, so it looks a little bit neater, I think, than the previous spread. Then for my November wrap-up, I did something a little bit different and did not do covers at all, and I actually really like the way it looks. I basically just did the titles of the books that I read in all caps, and then obviously wrote about them and did like a little review / summary in a different color. November expenses, I used the Cricut this time, as you can tell, for the lettering. Then December books, another one where I just kind of drew in the covers, or just like wrote the titles of the books on these little squares. December expenses is probably the funnest expense spread of the year. I got a Free People catalog in the mail, and then I cut out they had photographed some presents, and I cut them out and pasted them in. And I think it's so fun. It's very pink and girly. It's very not typically what my spreads look like, but I think it's cute. And then we have the best books of the year. Basically, I look at my story graph, and anything that I gave a 5-star read, I print the cover out, slap it in, and then, give, again, sort of a very quick kind of overview of my thoughts of the book. And then the very last spread, a little skincare favorites. I started this a couple years ago, kind of random. I thought the spread turned out really cool. I thought like the colors and those stickers of the bottles are really cool looking. So I think this will probably be a spread that I do every year. I did go ahead and purchase another journal from this shop and have them put 2025 at the top, and I've done a couple of spreads so far. Now that I have a Cricut, things are looking a lot kind of like neater and cleaner and a little bit more kind of polished, so I'm very excited. Thank you so much for watching this bonus video, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.